We really haven't talked yet very much about the opportunity of cash discounting. Like, why should you sell it? What's the financial upside for you? And so in this video, I want to touch on two really important concepts, savings and margin. And I want to describe each of these for you so you can really understand how they're connected with each other and specifically how it is with traditional processing versus cash discounting. And you'll very quickly see why this program has become so popular for merchants and for credit card processing salespeople like yourself, okay? So first of all, I think savings is pretty obvious. Everybody understands that, right? The merchant, let's use an example merchant here. Let's say we have an example merchant that does $10,000 a month in processing volume. So maybe their business does $20,000 a month in revenue, $10,000 is cash and check, $10,000 is credit card, debit card, these electronic forms of payment, okay? So for that merchant, let's say that they're currently paying $350 a month in fees. So their effective rate is 3.5%. Remember that? 350 divided by 10,000, 3.5% effective rate. So for every dollar that they collect, on average, $3.50 is going to payment processing expenses. All right? So they're paying $350. So the savings part is pretty easy. You understand that. Obviously, if we can take them from $350 a month to $200 a month, we saved them $150, right? Like the savings we get. But what you might not be as clear about is the margin. So you need to understand the profitability. Now, no matter how your compensation is structured, you want to sell accounts that are profitable. The more profitable the account, the more money you're going to make, no matter how your compensation is structured, right? So if we're looking at this as an opportunity, we say, okay, out of that $350, how much of that $350 is profit, okay? Well, we look at that and say, well, we have about 1.7% interchange cost, which we talked about before. That's a cost. So just like any other business, if I owned a bicycle shop, I would maybe buy a bicycle for $200 and I would try to sell it for $250 or $300. I have a cost and then I have my price. I'm collecting revenue. I have cost and then I have profits, what's left over. It's the same way in this industry, except that in this industry, the revenue is the fees that you're collecting. So let's say in this case, $350 a month in fees. Then your costs are going to be your interchange, which is like 1.7%, your card brand fees, which is another 0.2 to 0.3%. So now we're at like 2%. And then there's maybe some additional processor costs in there as well. But let's just call it 2% just for the sake of argument here. Let's say 2.5% because we would have some processor cost. So 2.5% cost. So what does that mean? If they're processing $10,000 a month in volume, we're collecting $350 in fees, 3.5% effective rate. 2.5% of the volume, that is the cost for interchange, card brand fees, processor costs. So $250, so 10,000 times 2.5%, $250 is cost. That leaves us $100 in margin, okay? So with traditional processing, I have an account that is paying $350 a month, $100 is profit, $250 is cost. So the normal merchant account, if I want to save the merchant money with traditional processing, how do I do it? Well, I take that $100 and I just cut it in half. And I say, hey, I can save you $50 a month. Okay? So the merchant says, okay, we'll do that. Well, now that account was worth $100 a month to their current company. I now steal that account from their current company and they come over to me, but I'm only the profit on the account is only $50 a month. Right? So that means my compensation, however it's structured, is going to be lower, okay? Because the account's not as profitable anymore. And so the profit goes down in order for the savings to go up. And that's how traditional processing worked. I've been doing this for 12 years. That's how it's always worked is, if you want to get more savings, that means it's less profitable. Well, how does cash discounting work on that same merchant account? On that same merchant account that's paying $350 a month, we go to a cash discount and say we do a 4% cash discount to make the math easy. Well, now we're increasing the merchant's revenue from $10,000 to $10,400. Our company is collecting that $400 from the merchant, and that $400 is used to offset the $400 in fees. So what happens in a scenario like this is that this merchant account actually goes from being worth $100 a month to now being worth $150 a month. And at the same time, because we're using that extra revenue to offset the cost, we're saving the merchant the $350 a month. So instead of saving the merchant $50 a month and cutting the profit in half, Instead, in the scenario with cash discounting, we're saving the merchant $350 a month, and we're increasing the margin by, in many cases, 2, 3, or even 4 times. So the example I just used with that simple math, most merchants a lot of times are not even paying quite that high, and so we're actually dramatically increasing the margin of the account. So rather than having to cut the margin in order to save them money and get the sale, we're actually making the account more profitable for us while simultaneously saving the merchant more money. So because of that, this is an opportunity that is tremendous, both in terms of savings for the merchant and profitability on the merchant account, which in the end is going to affect how much money you make.